All right. I'll start real quick. This is Erin. Welcome, everybody. Like I said, we are expecting a couple more people, so hopefully they will jump on as we get going. I haven't met you yet. I'm the Director of Programs Events for the Austin HVA. So hopefully we'll be able to meet in person, maybe as soon as June. We'll kind of wait and see how that goes. But thanks for all working with us and being patient and attending our webinar today so we can at least all get together. And with us today, we have Kate O'Hara. She is with Martha O'Hara Interiors, and they are a partner with the HBA. They're great supporters of us, so we are so happy to have her. And I'll go ahead and let her take it away.
Well, thank you. Thanks so much. Well, I'm really happy to be here. I've had the pleasure of talking with this group in person a few times in the past, and I was asked to talk a little bit about trends in 2020, which is different than ever before. We started this year thinking we understood what the design and home trends would be, and the reality is that the pandemic has really changed the landscape for what people are looking for and prioritizing in their homes. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit today. I'll start with where things started at the beginning of the year. I will talk a little bit about what we're already seeing as changes, and then I'll also discuss some of the things we're predicting just based on the way people are changing how they live and also what people are already asking for. So why don't I jump right in? A little bit about me. As Erin mentioned, I'm with Martha O'Hara Interiors. We are a full service residential design firm in Austin, and full service means that we partner with builders, remodelers, architects, homeowners, and developers too on generally residential projects. Occasionally we'll go a little bit more commercial, and we'll get involved early. We'll help with finish selections. We'll get things furnished and see things through. We have a pretty strong design team. We have a very strong design team. I can say that because I'm not a designer. Our designers are fantastic. And then in addition to them, we have an administrative kind of project management team working behind the scenes to help make sure that everything's running smoothly, on budget, on time. So we're, as interior design firms go, I'd say we're pretty process oriented and organized, and we really like to make things as seamless as possible for our build partners, and that has meant that we've tended to do a lot of custom build and remodel projects over the years. So as I'm talking about trends, I'm talking about things that we are really actively seeing right now. We have a lot of projects going on, and we have seen while we haven't seen really a dip in activity from our clients, we have seen a dramatic change in their priorities and perspectives. And so that's what I'm here to talk about today. So as I mentioned, this year, usually we can say, and here's what's going to happen this year. And that is not really remotely the case in 2020. What instead we're finding is that some of the things that we have been seeing in home trends for the past many years and that we thought would continue are changing a bit. The priorities of the moment are sometimes urgent and not what homeowners were expecting when they came into the year. And the priorities for their homes in the upcoming months and perhaps even year or two to come are again evolving. And I think we're probably at the cusp of seeing a pretty significant change in how people are living and working in their homes in the longer term, because it's already somewhat in place, and people's lives have been changing, not just because they're at home in the moment, but because the companies that they work for are already talking about a lot more flexibility. There are plenty of tech companies in Austin that are letting people, not just letting people work from home, but telling their employees, you're going to be at home for the rest of the year. And those sorts of changes that are maybe temporary but still longer term are giving people a bit of a eye-opening to how the homes and the priorities that they had for their homes even a year ago aren't working as well now because of how they need their homes to work for them. So that's meant some, that we've seen a lot of activity. A lot of people want to work on their homes, and we think that will, one of the trends I think we're going to see is that there's going to be a lot more working on homes as they are, and the floor plans in particular of homes being built may need to modify or adjust just a bit. So let's talk about past trends. And past is going to mean everything from things we've seen over the past few years to things that were trends a few months ago, some of which are continuing forward and some of which actually are changing. So the open concept floor plan is probably the single largest and pervasive trend that we've seen in homes over, I don't know, the last 10 years or so. And it made a lot of sense for people. It has made a lot of sense for people. It sort of acknowledges that our families and lifestyles are a lot more cohesive than ever before. We tend to live more casual lives, so spaces can move from one to the other a lot more openly. People also spend more time, even before the pandemic, people spend a lot more time in their homes than they might have in the past. And so having really open, easy layouts and a lot of natural light was very important. This is also one of the trends that we're seeing a pretty rapid shift, though it's not a complete about face. People still value all of the things that open concept delivered for them. They're just realizing now that they have some needs that they didn't have even a few months ago. So the open concept home, I don't think is going away, but I think it is going to be modified, and I think it will be joined by less open and more segregated interiors, because we're noticing so many different needs for utility and privacy in homes today. Even for moments like this where you're maybe speaking on a webinar and you need to have a room that closes. That's a difficult thing to do in an open concept space. We also started the year with some pretty distinct color palettes. Dusty Blush was one, a sort of lighter pink tone, along with pastels that were a little more cool, like a minty tones. This was the blush was kind of a carryover from the previous year. The pastels were something new that we were starting to see. We also last year had been seeing more saturated blue and jewel toned colors, and that was really carrying forward as well. We had started seeing it in kitchens a bit and toward last year, and we were starting to see those colors come into play in other parts of the house as well. These are things that probably won't change, but again, we are seeing that changes in how people are living their lives are influencing the colors that they want in their homes. And this is not just, us looking into a crystal ball and making predictions, but in getting feedback from our clients and potential clients who are talking to us about the changes that they want to make. And I'll talk about some of those changes in a bit. The kitchen has been an area of the house that it's one of everyone's favorite or most important parts of the home. It's the heart of the home and has been for many years. And so we, last year and early this year, we were seeing lots of open shelving, all white kitchens, while maybe not trendy anymore, are just timeless, and people will always want them. So finding really classic approaches and slightly different approaches to the all white space. We also were starting to see a lot of black cabinetry or saturated cabinet colors, and a lot of wood tones in kitchens. Less so in terms of like dark stains, more mid and lighter tones. And I think even last year I was talking about this very thing with almost a little bit of a blush undertone to the wood stains, but and we saw that continuing to be quite popular into this year. It's a little bit of bringing the outside in. It's a way to also kind of ground a space, offer something a little bit different that might not create a really dark interior that people tend not to want in their kitchens. And yet we were also seeing these really dramatic, dark, forest green, black, gray, and navy blue hues brought into kitchens. And people wanting these were responding to them because it looked like a high-end designer kitchen. It was a departure from the white kitchen, which seemed so pervasive, that they wanted something different. They wanted that visual signifier that this is special. And in order to make a white kitchen feel special, which is very doable, you really need to make some very conscious choices, and the statement is a bit more subtle. People were starting to want just some different approaches to a kitchen that would make it feel special, because kitchens are just forever people's favorite spaces in their homes. We also started to see people doing a lot of, and this has been going on for a few years, we've been seeing the styles themselves changing, and it makes sometimes conversations about style, I'm sure you can relate to this, difficult or challenging sometimes. Someone might say, I really want traditional, but what does that mean? Or I really want farmhouse, but what does that mean? So overall, the trend has been that the styles themselves are evolving a bit and simplifying, streamlining, and becoming a little bit more eclectic even within their own categories. We're seeing modern elements mixed into farmhouse and rustic homes. We're seeing in traditional spaces, cleaner lines or fewer, sometimes fewer colors used, a little bit more of a visual cleansing of the space. Even eclectic spaces we're finding are often still minimal, though maximalists are out there, but the pervading trend has been toward just kind of a little bit more clean. And it's a rare moment or a rare week that passes that we won't talk to at least one potential client who says, well, I just want some glam. And one thing that we're seeing is that when people want some glam or sparkle or something special in their homes, they're increasingly wanting to create that moment in their light fixtures. Lighting has been that moment for a lot of homeowners to feel like, okay, I can invest in this. It's a part of the home. I don't have to worry about its durability or the, dogs or kids or stains or wine spills, you name it. None of these things are concerns to me. And we've actually said to some of our builder partners, please make sure you as you put together your allowances, that you're allowing for the light fixtures to be special when, in the kitchen pendants, in the foyer, in the dining room, and so on, because we know that your client is going to be asking for that. They're going to be asking for something that's more expensive 9 times out of 10. We've also been seeing finish trends. We've been seeing a lot of black metals. We've seen a lot of gold, and that was showing up in brass and copper tones as well, and a lot of rose gold, although we are seeing that the rose gold trends start to calm down. So I think that in the coming year, we'll see gold is still pretty popular, but rose gold, those pinker tones, are starting to fade out. A lot of this is going to feel like, gosh, this is what we've been seeing, but that's how home trends tend to work. They're generally not a flash in the pan. So cement pattern tile continues to be popular, although people are increasingly looking for alternatives when it comes to tile and flooring, because they want something that's going to be easier on their feet, for instance, if they're standing a lot. Blonde oak, wide planks, and again, flooring that frequently is going to cater to kind of active families and that won't be completely destroyed if something scratches or mars or dents here or there, because more often than not, people want their homes to accommodate the level of activity that they have in their homes, which even if on a day-to-day basis, even if they don't have pets and kids, they might be entertaining, and there might be a lot of foot traffic occasionally in the house that they want to account for. I had mentioned light fixtures, and I really can't speak enough about how important they've become to people in their homes. Specifically, people are looking for kind of sculptural elements, really large scale pieces, and also even pendant clusters. These are some things that are a little bit different than what we might have seen a year or two ago, though a lot of these things have always been done, but they're just becoming more popular. People are feeling increasingly empowered to take some risks with the light fixtures and things in their home. Again, these are the things that we've been seeing that to some degree or another we're still seeing moving forward. So that was where our year started, and it's been a heck of a year. So and we're not even halfway through it. So I want to take a minute to talk about the current trends. So we're in the thick of stay at home or work at home or kids at home, so you're at home type situations for people, and that is really changing how people are living in their homes. And here are the things that they're calling us about. They're calling us about their exteriors. They need more than ever. They're thinking about their outdoor spaces as a part of their homes and as a part of their living spaces. People are not thinking as much as usual about traveling over the summer. If they are intending to travel, they're going to go to their second home. They're not going to go necessarily on vacation, not this year. And so having outdoor spaces that will work and lend themselves to extended stays is becoming really important. We're seeing on the outside of homes that people are using lots of kind of whites, grays, taupes, keeping it kind of quiet so that the outdoors can be the outdoors. People want the green and plant life and sky to be the colors that they see, because I think everyone has at least a little bit of cabin fever. I'll also note regarding exteriors, an additional thing that we are seeing people talk about when they're talking about exteriors is more utility outside. So that might be things like outdoor kitchens, outdoor cook areas, and lounges and televisions, spaces that don't just say like, I can sit when I'm outside, but no, I can truly just kick back and lounge and enjoy myself, more so than ever. We are seeing a huge uptick right now in remodels and additions. People who hadn't planned on working on their homes are saying, well, I'm not traveling, so I might as well do this thing that I'd been planning on doing at some point and never quite got around to. Some people are saying, we were thinking about moving, but we've decided not to. Instead, we want to work on our homes. We see a lot of that. And we have some people saying, gosh, my home isn't working for me right now. I need to fix this. Or I either need to fix this or kick my whole family out of the house, and only one of those is an option. So true story, true client statement. So we're seeing that move away from open concept. As I mentioned, people really need dedicated offices, and often we're finding multiple people in the house need dedicated offices. It might be two adults, it might be a couple and both are working from home. It might be that you've got college and high school students at home who need dedicated homework and project areas. And it's been kind of a trend for a while now in homes to have one enclosed private office space, and then one kind of built-in desk area that's a bit of a catch-all. Maybe it's the mail station, maybe it's where someone in the house is meant to sit down and work. But people are saying people have been saying for a long time now, we're just not using that. But more so, they're saying it's particularly not working for me now because when I'm working in my office, I can't be sitting in the rest of my house. I can't be preventing other people from using the house, or in a situation where I've got all this background noise. I mean, I'm sure everyone who's, video conferencing in has experienced some amount of that themselves. We're also seeing more spaces with multiple utility, with people staying at home. If they're not going to do an addition, they have the same square footage as ever, but they might need to get more done within those spaces. So that guest bedroom is now turning in also to an office. Laundry room now also maybe needs to be like a pet cleaning area. The mud room needs to have a lot more utility as people are going through sometimes like a bit of a sanitation process when they're coming in and out if they are working outside of the home. We've seen that too, where people want to have built-ins where they can have all of their disinfecting things and places to put, here are things that go in and out of the house, here are things that stay in the house. People are just a lot more conscious of this than they ever have been in the past. We also have people starting to ask for more soundproofing. And this is something I think we might see going down the road, particularly for offices or spaces, whether it's a music room or something else. We're hearing people say we really, as much as possible, there are a couple rooms in the home that would be very beneficial for us if we could have some amount of soundproofing to these areas. The home office, of course, has become everybody's primary focus because so many people are doing video conferencing, and it's changing how people are talking about designing their home offices. So instead of simply being a nice space with the right sort of atmosphere and a bit of a work area and probably some like decorative bookshelves, people are saying, no, I need this space to work for me, like as though I was in the office. I need screens. I need a place for dry erase boards maybe. I need lighting that takes into consideration the fact that I'm going to be on camera quite a lot. I need to pay attention to where my light sources are and that I'm not going to experience screen glare or something else. And I need storage that works for me in terms of the actual workspace I need. Some people are saying, I don't need chairs. Like in my presentation here, we have this lovely office that is totally gorgeous. But people are now saying, I'm less interested in these chairs than I am in having actually a second desk so that I have my project area and my computer area. Lots of things like that people are considering. Or I need some storage where I can put my, we have some people who are doing like pretty significant amounts of webinars and video conferencing, and they have special lights that they're pulling out. Well, they either want those now built into their offices or they need a place to store them. So this has been a really big deal. The video conferencing, the lighting, and paying attention to things like sound and utility and secondary workspace and countertop areas. We're also seeing rooms a bit defined. The kitchen is sometimes being used a bit differently because it's being used a lot more. People are cooking more than ever. So sometimes we're getting a lot of people reaching out saying, okay, time to remodel this kitchen that, has been more of a gathering area, but now that we're actually cooking, we're realizing this doesn't work for us. We're seeing that the dining room is becoming important again. It hasn't always been to people. And sometimes it's becoming a dual use space where people are saying, no, we're eating here, but then this is also our puzzle area. Lots of jigsaw puzzles in people's lives right now. We're seeing kids spaces, and kids doesn't have to mean even school age kids. Kids might mean grown children who therefore aren't children, grown adults who are now staying at home because they're not in college. They're not sure if they're going back to campus. They need some designated spaces as well. And as I mentioned, the dual utility type rooms that can accomplish more than one thing has become a frequent request or item on our clients' wish lists. So what does all of this mean for the future? We have some predictions. We've all kind of been talking about what is home going to be, and it's not like homes are going to completely change overnight, but more so than ever, people are willing to think flexibly about what home means for them and what they need their homes to do for them and how they are living in their homes. And so people are rethinking things a bit and thinking about how to make a home work for them. So colors we're seeing change a little bit, and we're kind of thinking, we're expecting to see green. It's been popular. We think it will continue to be really popular. People are just really wanting to bring the outside in as much as possible, since the indoor seems to be the default place for people to spend time. Those pastels that were popular at the beginning of the year, we think will stay popular, but they might become a little bit more vibrant in tone. People are just sort of looking for more positivity and an escape from kind of the cabin fever and doldrum of being at home all the time. Coral and orange tones have been around for a little bit, and we're starting to see, and we expect to see more of those. And finally, a lot of really earthy kind neutrals. And earthy does include gray, like stone grays. We think we'll continue to see those and see more of them down the road, because we are, some people are really cautious of getting tired of their interiors, especially now that they're spending so much time in them. And a lot of the spaces that people have in their homes are becoming kind of up for public consumption, because we're on camera. You can see part of my home right now. And so that's not a look, a glimpse you typically would have gotten if I were speaking in person. So because of that, I think people are looking for some spaces that will feel kind of professional and have a warmth to them, but ultimately feel like professional interiors. The kitchen is getting a little bit of a redesign too. It's got to be family friendly because everybody's at home and at home a lot. This can mean more use by all, which means kind of additional and creative storage solutions. This can mean additional seating. It also means that cook areas and cook stations have to work for people. And we're also seeing a lot, and we expect to start seeing just more excitement about kind of creating some statement pieces and interest in more dramatic colors in the kitchen. As I mentioned earlier, some of the dramatic colors in the kitchen help potential buyers down the road and guests and family see and feel like this is truly a designer space, because it looks a little different than what I might have expected it to look like. More dedicated utility spaces in homes, whether it's kind of bar areas, whether it's office areas, whether it's kids project and homework stations, whether it's mud rooms and laundry rooms. More and more and more, we're seeing that the utility spaces are more spacious, more square footage is being given to them. They're being designed more thoughtfully so that people don't have to, dread doing their chores, and they are being increasingly created so that they are a way, so that if the utility space is one that tends to kind of have messes in it, it's a space that can where the mess can be hidden away. If it's a space that can be kind of noisy, the noise can be hidden away. Or if it's like an office where other noises in the house need to be kept at bay, we're able to do that. So a little bit more delineation of spaces. We're also seeing we're not seeing yet, but some of our designers are predicting that pet-friendly nooks in the home are going to be very important. I'm not sure if you all know, I'm sure you've heard that pet adoptions, dog adoptions in particular, are on the massive rise, and because people want, want furry buddies at home with them, especially if they are alone at home, or if they have kids, so they want to give a treat, kind of give the treat of a pet too, because they're not getting to get out as much. But with this comes the need for things like, a designated sleeping area for pets, a designated cleaning area for pets, eating areas, and so on, so that pet bowls don't just need to float around the house. But with adoptions on the rise, we expect to see more interest in pet-friendly areas. And I think that outdoor living and landscaping is going to just continue to be really important to people. It's for those people who don't have space to make additions, or even if they do, people are more than ever thinking of their total lot size, their total lot, and not just the house itself, as their kind of living space and the space that they can, safely travel and explore. And so really making the most of every square foot, and expanding the amount of living space that they have by creating actual living, seating, lounging areas outside, including sometimes the more functional things like an outdoor shower to shower off after being in the pool, or more expanded kitchen and barbecue areas, things of that nature. We also are expecting certainly to see more and more so integrated technology in the home. And integrated technology can mean a lot of things. It's sort of, we were laughing about this recently because on the one hand, people aren't needing as much so maybe to, they're in California and they want to make sure that, they remembered to set their AC wherever they want it while they're traveling. That's maybe less necessary. And yet life at home has become busier than ever for a lot of people. They are working, caring for kids, keeping up their homes, and so forth. And so anything they can do to streamline their life at home, they're going to be prioritizing. And integrated technology can mean a lot of things. It can have to do with lighting. It can have to do with making sure that charging stations are where they need to be. This is becoming absolutely critical for people who are working from home. And also adding new work-related technologies into their homes, more screens, as I said, kind of lighting solutions in offices, really important. We are also seeing, I've mentioned a lot of people have maybe college or adult age children who are staying at home a little bit longer. We also have people who have parents and another generation essentially staying in the house. And so we're seeing more second master suites or mother-in-law suites. Some people want these so that if someone in their household is unwell, they can say this is that area of the house. And some people are saying, no, more of us are living in a house together and we need private spaces and complete spaces. This is becoming really popular. And I think it's starting to become popular. We're starting to see it. And so I think it's going to be coming down the road. And additionally, as an add-on, we're seeing just the need for people's needs for additions because they want more utility in their homes, and not everything can be accomplished as dual utility. I have included here just a couple remodels that we've done along the way with some befores and afters. You're all builders, you know how this goes and how spaces can transform, but just as examples of what people are trying to accomplish today. This was a space that we did where we changed very little of the footprint, but we created a great deal more storage, a great deal more light, and a bit more functionality in a room that was really pretty dated and dowdy. We're seeing people just really wanting to take the spaces that they know they're going to be in and finding beautiful solutions to make their homes feel like the space they've always wanted to live in, and a greater willingness to invest in their homes because they're spending so much time there. Doing more to open things up when they need to, like here, but still create distinct spaces and closable door spaces when needed. We also are seeing, as I've mentioned, additions to create more lounge space, more openness, and a lot of light flow through homes so that people can really, bring the outside in as much as possible and feel like their home is an extension of the lot that it's in, rather than an enclosed space that starts to feel a bit claustrophobic to people who are not leaving their homes very often. And a lot of people are getting comfortable leaving their homes these days. These are, though, the trends that we're seeing. People are very aware of how much time they're spending at home, even when they're in and out of the house a good bit. We're also seeing a lot more kind of unique storage needs. People more than ever just want places to put things tucked away so that as much as possible, things look and stay clean in their homes and don't just fill with clutter day after day. And sometimes a remodel to a client is not really a remodel at all. It's changing out some light fixtures and just updating some spaces in a really simple way. Here we have an example of a space that gained a bit more functionality by adding an office space. This office space probably wouldn't work for people today, but it is still an example, I think, of the type of thing people are looking for, where someone might say, yeah, you know what, in our living room, we do still want this, kind of table desk space, because this is where we're going to do the puzzles or we're going to play more games. People are spending more time together and they're looking for ways to create more tabletop surfaces that won't disrupt the functionality of other tabletop surfaces that they might already have. That may seem kind of like an odd consideration, and yet when we think about how we're staying at home, it starts to make a bit of sense. So those are my past, present, and upcoming trends in homes. I hope that this was helpful to people in hearing what our clients are telling us, what they're coming to us with, and what our team is kind of expecting to see more of down the road. I've tried to leave a good 15 minutes or so for questions if anyone has any. And thank you so much for sticking around.